Hi golfers, Nick here from Golf Tips Singapore. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on Golf Tips. This week on Golf Tips, we're going to continue a theme looking at the three key fundamentals. So first week we looked at contact and how important it is to control the low point. Then we looked at power, how we create power in the golf swing. So we're going to look at direction. So basically what we're going to look at is the starting direction of the golf ball and which way it curves. The best players don't hit every fairway and don't hit every green, but they do have some control of starting direction and the direction it curves. To do that, we're going to first of all look at the grid and how we can build a shot into that. Then we're going to look at how we hit a push draw using GC Quad data. And then finally, we're going to look at the checkpoints for the swing using video and 3D motion to give you guys a little bit of an idea what to look for and how to practice using the grid. First thing we're going to discuss is how we build in the shot using the grid. So just to give you guys a little bit of an idea, so as we play golf, we don't stand on the target line, we don't have a completely vertical club, because if we did, the swing plane or swing path would move up and down in a straight line. We don't stand like that. We stand at the side of the golf ball and the club's on an angle. So these two sort of noodles here are representative of sort of the angle of the golf club. They're kind of like the grid in the air. So the grid on the ground is represented by these strings. So the outside grid line here represents the path that the club should follow. So the path of the club should move inwards inside the target line and back in on the way through. The inside line here is the representative of the hands. So as the club moves back in, so does the hands. So the hands and the club both move back in around the body in a bit of an arc or a circle. Because it's an arc or a circle, there's always going to be like a tangent point, a point where the club will reach its most outward point of the journey before it starts moving back in. That point happens once the line of the shaft and the left arm line up with the left shoulder, which is effectively kind of the most outward point of the swing. It's pretty much where the low point would be, so in line with the shoulder. Once that lines up, that's the most outward point of the journey, then it should move back in. Now, the way we build in a draw is having the ball behind the centre. So if you look on the video there, you can see the ball's behind my left shoulder. My left shoulder's in front, so the centre point of my swing is in front of the ball. So at that point, as I catch the ball, my path should be moving slightly outwards just before it hits into the ground. So my club should be going downwards and out to the right with the ball position behind my left shoulder. Now, if I was to place the ball in front of my left shoulder, then the club would then start to move back around the circle. So I'd expect a swing path maybe slightly from the outside. We're going to look at how to hit a push draw today. We're going to look at the quad data, we're going to look at the 3D motion, and look at some positions in the swing, just to give you guys an idea of how we build in a draw, a push draw into the golf swing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a shot, we're going to take a look at the data, and then we're going to take a look at the 3D motion and the video of the swing. So as you can see here, I've got the two noodles set up, so my swing should avoid both of those on the way back and the way through. And I think one of the big misconceptions in how to hit a draw is on the follow through. A lot of golfers believe, or they've been told, that as you swing through, the club should move out to the right of the target line. That club should never move outside of that target line, it should move back in. And you will see today when I hit the shot, my swing path's going to be 4 or 5 degrees from the inside, even though my club will move inside this noodle on the way through. So let's give it a go. I've just got a 9-iron here. Okay, so you saw on the screen there, pretty straight shot, just a tiny little bit of a draw. Let's have a quick look at the data. So swing path 5 degrees from the inside, club face 3.4 degrees close to the path, which means it was a couple of degrees open to the target line. So when we're going to sit down now, we're going to take a look at that data, and then we're going to take a look at the swing in a bit more detail. So you see me hit the shot there on the quad. So to take a look at that shot in a bit more detail, swing path was 5.4 degrees into out, club face was 2 degrees open to the target line, and obviously we 3.4 degrees close to the swing path. And that's the key there to hit a push draw. The club face needs to be open to the target line but closed to the swing path. That's what's going to start the ball out to the right and draw it back into the target. So I think that's one of the big misconceptions in golf, is to hit a draw you have to close the club face, but actually face needs to be open to the target line. We're going to take a look at my swing here. So first of all, we're going to build in the grid. So there's my sort of swing centre, so sort of my left shoulder. Now my club path would be on the outside here, so I'm just going to build that in. So these lines are roughly, say, 20 degrees, and then I'm going to build in my hand path, which is parallel to my club path, and then I'm going to build in sort of my ball position, which is set behind my shoulder. So at that point, my club should still be going out to the right of the target line and slightly downwards as well. That's going to help me get the low point in front of the ball. It's going to help me start that path out to the right, or get the path moving out to the right by having that ball played in behind my shoulder. So you can see from the face-on view the way the grid's built there. Now if I take it from the down the line view, and we're going to draw in the same lines here, but obviously from a different angle. So first of all, we have the swing centre, which goes back there. Then we have the club path, which is this one, and then we have the hand path. And again, these lines are sort of like roughly at sort of 20 degrees. And then from here, we're going to have the ball position where the club is. So again, if I use the same colours, at this point, my club path can get projected out to the right. So this is how we build in the draw into the setup. Okay, so I'm going to leave these lines on the screen when we take a look at the swing. But next thing I'm going to do is just going to draw a line for reference for the shaft angle. Then also I'm going to draw a line from the club head up through sort of the top of the elbow. This is going to be sort of my elbow plane in the golf swing, and this is quite important. I use this a lot in my lessons. And I'm going to box the head in as well. So if we take a look at the swing at the start, so we're going to take it up to position 2, which is when the shaft's parallel to the ground. And what you'll start to notice is how my hands have sort of stayed inside the swing plane cone. So when you're checking your swing, you want your club and your hands to be inside the cone at this stage. So that's showing that you're swinging sort of the hands inwards, if you like, in the backswing. If we were to take a look at some numbers now, so I've just pulled on some numbers onto the screen here, so you can see how at this stage my shoulders have already turned to 50 degrees. Now they're going to be slightly open at address, but they've turned like 50 degrees just at this stage. And when you talk about, a lot of golfers talk about the sort of a one-piece takeaway, you can see how I'm really turning my body here. Notice also my hip turn is at 30 degrees here. So to help bring the hands inwards, you have to turn your body. If you don't turn your body, you're going to really struggle to get that club working inwards in the backswing. Also the shoulder tilt, which is 32 degrees to the left, so that's me just tilting to the left. That's going to help me sort of keep that my head in the box. That's my shoulders just tilting slightly to the left, and you'll see that at the top of the swing as well. But they're the 3 key moves there in the body, how I'm bringing the hands in. It's not just a case of bringing the hands inwards, I'm also turning and moving my left shoulder down at this point. So we're going to keep the swing going now up to let's take it up to P3, which is left arm parallel. So you'll see how the shaft here is inside this cone at this point. Also you'll see how my left arm has moved inwards. You can see how my hips are turning on an angle, my shoulders are turning on an angle at this point, and the head staying in the box. All these key positions. Now let's take it up to the top of the backswing, P4. So at this point here you can see how my left arm hasn't lifted above my shoulders. The butt of the club is sort of on the top of the elbow plane, if you like. You can see how my elbow is quite tucked into my body here, so there's no sort of disconnection at this point. So taking a look at some numbers there, you can see how the shoulder turn is at 91 and the hip turn is at 54 degrees. So my hip turn is probably a little bit more than the average tour player, but you can see how the shoulders are roughly about where the average tour player is, around 90 degrees. So by turning my body, that's helping me keep the arms inwards. Okay, I'm going to leave the hip turn up on the screen here because I just want to show you the next position. By the time I get down to the left arm parallel position, you can see how my hip turn has gone to 5 degrees. So it was 54 to 5, so it's already changed by 50 degrees in such a small period of time. Also reference at this point the shaft angle sort of going through the middle of my right bicep as we look at it from down the line. So from here we're going to take the swing down to shaft parallel position, position 6. So you can see where the club head is here, just inside the hands. Maybe this is half a frame out at this stage. Now this is quite a good reference point. So if you're looking at your swing and when the shaft's parallel, your club head is out there, you'd expect it out to in path. If you had your club head way inside, you'd expect an in to out path. But you look at the best players at this point, their club head's going to be roughly in line with their hands. That's going to help them deliver club slightly from the inside with the ball position behind the left shoulder, which is what we're looking for. Now from here we're going to move the club down into the impact area. So we're just taking this down to just after impact. You can see the ball was taken off and hit the screen there. So you can see how the ball was started to the right of the target line, but it's closed to the swing path, and that's what gives it the draw. Notice as I swing through here how the hands and the club head are moving in around my body, and then on the exit point you can see where the club head comes out and where the hands come out as well, below the shoulder. So I think that's a really key point as well. So a lot of golfers think to hit a draw the club head has to go out to the right, but you can quite clearly see that the club head has carried on tracking that grid on the way through into the follow through. But because I caught the ball behind the centre point of the swing, that projected the path out to the right, and with the club face open to the target line but close to the path, that's what gave it that draw back to the target. So just to recap there, I think the few keys to take from this video is that to hit a push draw, we can build that in using the grid at the setup. If you practice, try and set yourself up a grid. I've used the T-claws here. You can use alignment sticks or even your clubs laid on the ground. If there is a way you can have like alignment stick on an angle, that will give you that awareness for the swing, like I did with these two noodles. That gave me that awareness on the backswing and on the follow through, because I think there's quite a few misconceptions in how to hit a draw. I think a lot of players feel that the club and the hands have to move out to the right after the target line, but you can clearly see when you looked at the swing on the video there how the club and the hands moved back inside on the arc as I swung through. So I'd built the drawing at setup, I had the ball behind the shoulder, I swung along those lines, the club face was open to my target line as I set up, and that was quite important as well. You don't really want to set up with the club face square to the target line because the ball will curve. So I'm trying to draw the golf ball, so I want the face open to my target line. By having the ball behind the shoulder, I'm sort of projecting that path out to the right. And then the key is then to stick to those lines. So when you're videoing your swing, use some of those checkpoints that I used there. Obviously I went into quite a bit of detail, but I wanted to cover quite a few checkpoints there so you can see how in the swing I was turning my body in the takeaway right from the start of the swing. At the top of the backswing, my left arm hadn't lifted above my shoulders, and then as I swung through, my hands move around on the arc on the exit as well. So I was keeping the swing below those two noodles that are set on the angle, and I think that's really important when you're practicing, is to try and give yourself some sort of awareness. Now golfers, if you've got any questions on that, post them in the box below. If you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms, and we'll see you again next week for another video on Golf Tips.